Calling All Authors, the Your Book, Your Voice podcast with host Robert A. Lane features everything you need to know about narrating your audiobook, but it doesn't stop there. We have special guests lined up from all aspects of the book publishing industry, and we also dive deep into what it takes to be mentally prepared for success as an author and in life. So please welcome your host, Robert A. Lane.
Hey, my friends, how you doing today? This is Robert A. Lane. You are listening and tuning in to Your Book, Your Voice. We're streaming live on the Bold Brave TV network. Thanks so much for joining. I am an audiobook coach and producer. That's what I do for a living with my business, Robert Lane Coaching. Specialize in helping nonfiction authors turn their book into an audiobook and get them published on Audible, Amazon, and Apple Books. I call it the AAA. You got to be on Audible, Amazon, and Apple Books. And the beauty of what I do in my audiobook coaching program is that I help the authors narrate their own book, do it in their own voice, and have them express their story the way they intended it to be heard, which is really, really important, and which is leading into the topic that we're going to be talking about today. Before we jump into that, I just want to share a couple of things. First of all, I do have a freebie for you, and I will continue to talk about this through future podcasts as well, and that is an audiobook narration reference guide. I've put together a reference guide for those of you who are looking to narrate your own audiobook for your published book as a nonfiction author. And this is just a guide that you can pick some good tips on how to do a great narration, talking about some of the practical aspects and some of the intangibles like the emotion and the feeling and the energy. Super important to bring that to the table when you do your audiobook narration. So again, as you see, there's a graphic up there with a link. Not sure if you were able to type in the link in the comments there. Maybe people can grab. But by all means, take a screenshot, grab it, and grab that link and grab your free downloadable guide. And you can also grab it on my website as well, so which is at robertlanecoaching.com. So I just wanted to share that with you. One more thing that I do want to share with you, and I know we have a graphic for this as well, and that is to schedule a call, schedule an audiobook consultation call with me. And I wanted to just put this out there now, and I will be doing it throughout the podcasts. And that is, if you are a published nonfiction author and you have a book that's out there, yet it is not in audiobook form, book a call with me. The link's there on that graphic. Schedule a call with me. I'd love to hear from you. We'll talk about your book. We'll figure out your marketing goals, and I'll tell you more details about the Your Book, Your Voice audiobook coaching program and get you enrolled. And you can have your audiobook recorded, narrated, and published by the end of the 6-week program. So schedule a call. You will talk to me directly, and you will work with me directly. So book that call. All right. Okay, so today's topic is you, narrator, or AI. There's only one right choice. We're going to dive into that. And I also want to encourage you, if you're watching during this live stream, is if you have any questions about the audiobook world, if you have questions, I'm going to ask you some questions too that I want you to pop in the comments. So please do, if you'd like to get involved in the show. I'd love to speak with you via comments and answer your questions as well. So by all means, get involved. All right, so you, narrator, or AI, we're going to dive into those 3 aspects of what you can do, and those are your choices for narrating your audiobook. Do you do it yourself as a nonfiction author? Do you hire a professional narrator? And I say professional because it needs to be professional, just not a friend, not somebody, who's like, oh, I wanted to get into voiceover. Let me do your audiobook. You need somebody who's professional. Or again, do you go the AI route, right? Having artificial intelligence create a voice for you to do your book narration. So the first thing we're going to talk about is narration. And if you're going to hire a narrator, ask this question. I'm going to ask you this question too if you want to put it in the comments. Why, as a nonfiction author, would you hire a narrator to do your audiobook? What would be the reason why? I've heard a variety of reasons. I've talked with so many authors who end up getting into my audiobook coaching program, but we do have this discussion of like, why would you want or to hire a narrator, a professional narrator to do your audiobook? Give me some reasons why. I'd love to hear from you. And again, you can pop that into the comments. Now, hiring a narrator, there are a couple of reasons why you would do that. I have come across some authors who have written some fabulous books. However, they have some visual impairment, so they've had help with writing their book and getting people to help them out, with their editors and proofreaders and formatters and other people that have helped them with the actual writing of the book because of a visual impairment. Yet they still, and I'm very proud of these people who are able to get their book out there. They're not letting any physical ailment stop them from publishing a nonfiction book, and that is really a commendable thing. So that I understand about not narrating your own audiobook because you can't read it because of visual impairment. Makes sense, but you would hire a professional to do it. As a matter of fact, I was just talking to another author the other day, and she was saying, I have a really serious issue when it comes to dyslexia. And so she said, reading my book can be a challenge. And that's another reason, and very understandable, of why you would hire another narrator to do your audiobook. Again, another physical ailment that can hinder you from doing an audiobook narration. Now, I know there's other audiobook companies that are out there who, some of them like to push their narrators on you and say, oh, you want to narrate your own book? No, we got a great narrator. We got somebody who'd be perfect for your book. When it comes to hiring another narrator, if you decide to go that route, you need to hang on to the control of your book. If someone says, hey, we got somebody, we're going to put this person or this voice and that's it, you need to be able to pick and choose who you want to narrate your book. This is your book. You need to not relinquish that control to somebody else or to another company. So when it comes to hiring a narrator, make sure you are not giving up control of your book. It's kind of like self-publishing versus traditional publishing. There's pros and cons of both. One of the cons, though, with traditional publishing is that they're in control of your book. And if you wanted to turn your book into an audiobook, and I've run into this with some authors, and they're like, yeah, I wanted to do my audiobook, but my publisher doesn't want me to do an audiobook right now, or they want to do this, or they want to do that. So again, with some traditional publishers, you do give up a lot of control over what you can do with your book. And they want to, have their hands on your product. So that's why I'm a big advocate of self-publishing, because you can self-publish your book and you do retain control over what you want to do. Now, of course, traditional publishing is great in regards to getting the word out there and distribution, because they have that to market your book and get it out there. And they have the budgets to be able to do that. So when you do self-publishing, you have to get creative in how you approach your marketing tactics. But again, I'm still a big proponent of self-published books. I think is a great thing. I am a self-published author, by the way. I do have a book called Lights Action You, which is a self-published book that I released last year, and it became a #1 bestseller on Amazon, so I'm happy about that. Dealing with more career coaching and life coaching as opposed to the audiobook world, but this was the catalyst to offer what I do as an audiobook coach and producer to help other authors turn their book into an audiobook. But the reason why I mention this is that I understand the process of what you went through to get your book published, because I've been through it myself as well. And of course, as an audiobook. And just a little bit of background about myself. I used to work in the entertainment business, spent 30 plus years in that business. 20 plus years I've spent as an audio editor. So I have that background as well. When it comes to doing audiobooks, you have an audio editor that's part of your team when you go through the audiobook coaching program. But I want to touch on some reasons why not having or having a narrator may not be the best choice, especially for nonfiction authors. The number one reason why you would narrate your own book as opposed to hiring a professional narrator, not that they wouldn't do a good job. I mean, I'd love to have a great voice like James Earl Jones or Morgan Freeman or somebody, who has this great voice to do my audiobook. But of course, I opted when I did mine to narrate it myself for this reason. It's your interpretation. This is your story. You lived it. You've breathed it. You've written it. It's your unique style. Professional narrators are awesome, and I know a lot of them. But it is their interpretation, not yours. They're going to interpret your book in their style, not your style. And so there are tones, there's emphasis, there's inflections, there's pacing, there's all these elements that make what you are as an author, how you speak, how you deliver your word, how you delivered your word in written form. That is your voice. That is your voice. Another narrator doesn't have that insight because that's what makes you unique. That's what makes you you. So there's that aspect of it. Again, bringing forth authenticity. A narrator could do a great read, but is it a technical read or is it an emotional read? Is there an emotional understanding that they're missing in their narration that you brought forth in your written word? Another thing to think about is, again, that kind of ties into this, is a deep understanding of what your book is about. Do they really have an in-depth understanding of your material? If you're a coach, for example, or an entrepreneur or a teacher or an educator, and you've written a how-to book or a self-help book, do they really have that in-depth understanding about your book and be able to get that across in their narration? Will they be able to bring that across? Can they bring your purpose, your emotion, the feelings that you put in written word? Can they tap into that? Again, a professional narrator will sound great, but will they be able to get that in-depth understanding of what you are trying to get across in your book? Maybe not, even though they are professional, because again, we're all unique individuals. Consistency is another thing. Now, when you wrote your book, obviously it's consistent through, the beginning to the end. You do bring the same consistency when you do your audiobook. So there might be a difference in how they are expressing themselves, and are they being consistent? Are they preserving your author's intent? That's another big thing that you need to think about too. Are they preserving what you have put down in the written word? Is this what you intend? That's a very important part of doing an audiobook narration, preserving your author brand. All right. So hiring another narrator sounds great. It's going to cost more money when you do a professional, of course, but are they really going to preserve the integrity of your book? Something to really think about. All right. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the AI aspect. Do you go artificial intelligence? Do you have an auto-generated voice narrate your audiobook? We will dive into that when we come back. You are listening to Your Book, Your Voice. I'm your host, Robert A. Lane. We're streaming live on the Bold Brave TV network. AI or AI? I don't know. Let's find out when we come back.
What if there were a super tiny device that could diagnose the brain and is smaller than a single human hair? What if you could see inside the brain to help an epilepsy patient during surgery or to help the fight against Parkinson's disease? Dr. Patricia Broderick is proud to announce the Broderick Probe, a biomedical and electronic breakthrough. Imagine a probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense radio show with host Dr. Broderick, Wednesdays 7 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave Media Network and TuneIn Radio. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to EasySense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders. That's EasySense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them. Rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies. Find settings that allow them to be the most productive and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio.
And welcome back to Your Book, Your Voice. I'm your host, Robert A. Lane with Robert Lane Coaching. We are streaming live on the Bold Brave TV network. Appreciate you hanging out on this podcast. And we are talking about you, narrator, or AI. There's only one right choice. That's our topic for today as we are talking about audiobooks. I am an audiobook coach and producer. I have a program, audiobook coaching program called Your Book, Your Voice, where I help published nonfiction authors turn their book into an audiobook that they narrate themselves and get them published on Audible, Amazon, and Apple Books, the AAA, by the end of the 6-week program. I'll talk more about the audiobook coaching program a little bit later on in the podcast. But again, I do want to mention that I do have a free downloadable audiobook narration reference guide that I'd love for you to grab. You'll see it there on the screen. Grab it. Take a picture of that screenshot, grab your free guide. It's also available on robertlanecoaching.com. And that's just a little something that I want to give to any nonfiction author who's thinking about narrating their own audiobook. Some great tools and tips for you to help you with your audiobook narration. And if you are serious about doing your audiobook narration and you want more information about the Your Book, Your Voice audiobook coaching program that I teach, schedule a free call. Schedule a call with me. The graphics up there as well. That is the link to book a call. Take a screen grab of that as well. And you will talk with me directly. We'll talk about your book, figure out what your marketing goals are, what you want to do with your audiobook. I'll give you details about the Your Book, Your Voice audiobook coaching program. And we'll get you enrolled. And we'll get that book done in 6 weeks. All right. It's a good thing. All right. So we're going to dive back into our topic of the day. I mentioned about narration, hiring a narrator, a professional narrator to do your audiobook, and the positives and the negatives. Again, the positives are if there is a reason why you can't do a narration, if it's a visually impairment, or maybe there is an audible, a throat issue that you're not able to do a narration. Totally understandable to hire a narrator, but I frown upon that only because as a nonfiction author, you want to tell your story the way you intended it to be heard, and you want to be able to express it and bring the emotion that a professional narrator, no matter how good they are, they're going to do their interpretation, not yours. So that's why I'm a big proponent for having you do your own audiobook narration. Now, AI, right? Artificial intelligence. This is something that is a hot topic. It'll continue to be a hot topic for a while. There's a lot of legalities going on in regards to AI. There's lawsuits going on with AI of people saying, hey, I did not give them permission to use my voice likeness or image, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's also some authors who have lawsuits against AI companies because they have lifted pieces from their books to teach AI, and they're not happy about that. So, a lot of things going on in the AI world. Now, I will say this: AI can be helpful in regards to doing research. I use it sometimes to do some audiobook research and some other things that I do with my business with Robert Lane Coaching, but I use it for informational purposes. I do not use AI to replace or replicate something that I do. When I do my social media, I do it. I don't have AI do it. You can get some great ideas for research. That's one thing, but I will not take AI information and just do it verbatim. Like I want them to be, my style. So here's the question: do you want to use AI to narrate your audiobook? As you can probably sense, my answer is no. You don't do it. Maybe you would. If you have any thoughts about that, by all means, pop it in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts about AI. But there are reasons why you don't do AI for audiobooks and for a nonfiction author. Okay, well, first of all, Audible, Amazon, and Apple Books, right? Those are the three platforms that I get you published on through my audiobook coaching program. Audible is a strong proponent of real people, human voice. They have rejected audiobooks because it's not a real person. It's not a real voice. It doesn't sound right. It sounds mechanical. And Audible they have a standard level that they want to maintain. And if your audiobook doesn't sound natural, it's going to get rejected. Which brings me to the first point that I wanted to talk about in regards to AI, and that is it lacks emotional depth. When you wrote your book, you've put your heart and soul into that nonfiction book that you wrote and you published. That energy, that purpose, the core reason why you wrote your book is in the written word. That intangible, the emotion, the feeling, everything that makes your book you and what makes it so unique is gone. There is no emotional depth when it comes to AI. There's no authenticity. And being authentic is so crucial when doing your audiobook. Okay, there's limited expressiveness. Again, we're talking about those intangibles. AI doesn't have the nuances of you. AI cannot replicate you. Okay, there are again pacing, emotion, feelings, those intangibles, being conversational, really being compelling and engaging. What makes an audiobook compelling and engaging is your interpretation of your own book, of bringing that emotion across, those feelings across. That's what separates you from AI. There's a loss of connection. You want to develop an intimate connection, a relationship with your reader slash listener, if they're listening to your audiobook. That connection is so crucial. When someone is listening to your audiobook that you narrate, let's say in your own voice, you're speaking directly to them, or they feel that you are speaking directly to them. And that develops this connection with your reader, with your listener, with your follower. If you're building your author brand, you don't want AI to represent you. That's not you. That's not who you are about. And you're missing out on that emotion and that uniqueness when you have AI narrate your audiobook. There's also other things like mispronunciation. I can't even say the word mispronunciations. I'm not AI, I swear. I'm a real person. Um, but yeah, mispronouncing words, bad. And you know what? Even when you go to YouTube and you're watching videos, you can tell. Oh, that's an AI narrated video. You can tell the difference, and that does take away from the experience. You don't want to take away the experience of somebody listening to your audiobook. Um, Again, the most important part of narrating your own audiobook versus AI is preserving the human element, right? It's the human element that makes your audiobook so unique. This is what made your written book so unique. It is your voice. Your voice is in the written word, okay? Your voice is in the audible world if you narrate your own audiobook. AI cannot preserve that. AI cannot replicate that. And that is the number one reason is once you remove the human aspect out of it, you've cheapened your product. And that's one thing that you do not want to do. Because remember, catchphrase time, you are the CEO of you. You are the CEO of you. You're an author. You're a published author. I don't consider you a hobbyist. I consider you an author. You are a professional. You have a published book out there for the world to read. That is your product, which means you as an author is your brand. If you try to auto-generate a fake computer voice AI to represent you, you're cheapening your author brand. You spend all this time, you put in your blood, sweat, and tears into your book, your feeling and emotion, your heart into this nonfiction book that you've published. Why would you cheapen your brand by just having AI do it? Don't do that. You have to preserve your author brand, because when people see, oh wow, I got this book, this author has this book. Now they look at you as the expert in your space, as the expert in your field. When you do your audiobook, that is just another extension of your expertise. You're preserving your author brand. You're preserving the integrity of your book. All right, that is so important. AI does not do that. You're cheapening your brand. You're taking the easy way out. You're cutting corners. And as an author, that is, that's death to your author brand. Do not cut corners. Remember, you are the CEO of you. The decisions that you make, the buck stops right here, right? The decisions that you make, you got to make decisions that are going to move your business forward. You have to make decisions that are going to preserve your author brand. You have to do things that are not going to harm all that work that you've done to create this great book that you've published. So in regards to AI, that is a definite no in my book. Definite no. And even as AI develops, and I'm sure it'll get to a point where it's going to be really, really hard to hear the difference between AI voice and a human voice. I'm sure it'll get to that point. But again, there is no way that AI or even a human, when we're talking about a narrator, a human voice, they cannot replicate you. You are so unique. This is what makes you such a great author. This is why people want to read your book, because they resonate with you. They love your style. They love how you've written. They love how you've expressed your words. That is so important. And you want to preserve that. A narrator is going to do their interpretation. AI is just not going to cut it, because it's not even, I don't even really consider it an interpretation. It's just taking words and creating something with, that's removing the human aspect. And you don't want to do that, because again, you're an author, you're a professional, you have a book out there that you were compelled enough to write this book for the world to read. Taking your book to the next level, right? Creating an audiobook, putting it in your own voice is key, because now you're preserving your author brand. we're going to dive into that in more detail in the next segment. But I just wanted to say that a narrator is great for fiction books. I do recommend having a narrator who's a professional, who can do great voiceover work, especially if you have characters and accents and really want to bring the book to life. Fiction books are great for having professional narrators and voiceover people. But when it comes to nonfiction books, I'm a big proponent of having you, as the author, narrate your own book. And again, when it comes to artificial intelligence, it's again artificial. It's not going to represent you. It's not going to do your book justice. And you don't want to do that. Again, if you've written a book, if you are a teacher or an educator, if you're an entrepreneur and you've written a book, if you're a coach, a relationship coach, even if you're a book coach or a financial coach or a career coach, whatever weight loss coach, why would you have AI or another narrator do your audiobook? It doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. All right. All right. So, of course, that leads us into the last aspect of the you, narrator, or AI, and that is you. We're going to talk about why you need to narrate your own audiobook and how important it is for you to do so. All right. You are tuned in to Your Book, Your Voice. I'm your host, Robert A. Lane. Thank you so much for tuning in. We're going to take a quick break. We are streaming live on the Bold Brave TV network. We're going to talk about you, make it all about you when we come back.
Did you know that your beliefs create your entire reality, but it's the subconscious beliefs that do most of the creating? Belief shifter and life coach Shiraz can help you identify those limiting beliefs and eliminate them, often in a single session.
Like it was almost instant, like I had relief right away.
Creating better health, relationships, careers, and finances. Let Shiraz help you step out of safety and into awareness.
Definitely something's happening. It's like a flow inside. It feels good.
Whether in person or online, Shiraz provides personal coaching, belief shifting. Visit Shiraz at energeticmagic.com or call 416-529-7429. Energetic Magic on the BBM Global Network, Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern. Find your greater happiness. Be well. Be aware. Be magical.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of the Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on the Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
All right, we're back with Your Book, Your Voice, streaming live here on the Bold Brave TV network. I'm Robert A. Lane with Robert Lane Coaching. I'm an audiobook coach and producer. Thank you so much for tuning in. I want to give a shout out to Rick. Thank you for the compliment, Rick, in your comments there. I appreciate it. Okay, so one thing that I did want to mention in regards to AI, because AI is a hot topic. Now, one of the reasons for the writer's strike and for the actor's strike, AI was a big factor because the studios and the executives were pushing for using the actors and the writers' likeness and using that instead of using the real people, which is a bad thing because it doesn't just affect actors. It doesn't just affect the writers. It would affect the entire industry, down to to people in craft service, people, the drivers, the production assistants, all those people that are involved in that industry would be affected. If you start using AI and then you start cutting people's jobs, that's bad, and we don't want to do that. We want people to keep their jobs and do what they do best. So that, again, was a big factor in regards to what that strike was all about. So again, I'm glad that they came to terms, and hopefully everything will work out, and everybody will be happy. We hope. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to you, because it is all about you. You are a great author. I've read a lot of nonfiction books. I've been working with a lot of great authors who have signed up into the Your Book, Your Voice audiobook coaching program, and really proud of their work to narrate their own audiobook. Great job. But the reason why you need to narrate your own audiobook, because I know in my title I said there's only one choice. This is really the one choice. And that is, again, you wrote it, you've experienced it, these are your words. Only you, as the nonfiction author, can express your book the way you intend it to be expressed. You intended it to be spoken, and only you can do it. Now, I have heard people saying, oh, I don't want to do it because I don't have a great voice. And in one of my previous podcasts, I spent a whole podcast talking about crushing fears and building confidence in your own voice and loving your voice and believing that you can narrate your own audiobook. And that is a very key factor, confidence. That is a key factor. You have to believe in yourself, and you have to love this voice that you have. I know a lot of people are like, oh, I hate my voice. I don't like how I sound. Because I know that what you hear up here, in your head is different than when somebody plays it back to you. But you have to understand this. You have a great voice. You really do. And it's your voice that is part of your uniqueness. That's what makes you so unique. It's not just what you're writing in your book. Okay, when you put it down in written form, that is your voice. But when you speak it, that really just hammers it, right? It hammers it down. It really solidifies you as the author. You have your voice in your written word, and now you have your voice in your audiobook because you're doing the narration. That's why it's just so important for you to do it. Of course, again, the intangibles, the emotion, only you can express your book the way you want it to be expressed. When you wrote your book, there was this driving force, there was a purpose, there was a core reason why you are writing your book in the first place. Okay, that was the driving force to get it out there. You have something very important to talk about. You wanted something very important to share and to put it out there in the world. It was that important for you to write that book. It was that important for you, if you self-published your book, to hire the professionals who can turn your book into a work of art, because it is a work of art. Hiring that editor and proofreader and formatter and cover designer and all the people that you bring together to produce the book. When I did my book, Lights Action You, this book was done by hiring the proper professionals who can do this better than I can, and making sure that it was done right. Because when you put that book side by side with another book who had theirs done through traditional publishing, you won't tell the difference. There's no difference. And that's key. Okay. So when you're doing your audiobook, you want the same thing, right? You can, again, hire a professional narrator, but you narrating and a professional narrating, you can put them side by side, and guess what? Your book is going to be just as good as a book with a professional narrator. And I can say that because I've seen it and I've experienced it as an audiobook coach. Hearing my clients record their audiobook and listening back after I do all my editing and I clean it up and I output their final audio for publication, and I really have a chance to listen to that audiobook. And I tell you, every single time I am just drawn into that story. I am engaged into what that author is talking about. It's a great feeling, and it's a great accomplishment for the author to lock me in. I hear this stuff all the time. And if you've got me engaged in your book, that means you did the great job, not me. You did. You did the great job. And that is a testament to showing you that you can narrate your own audiobook. You do have the ability to narrate your own audiobook, and you will do a fantastic job. In the audiobook coaching program that I teach, I take you through all the steps, and I'm there with you through the entire process to make sure that you are engaging, that your book is compelling, that when somebody listens from opening credits to closing credits, they are so engaged into your book that they're just chomping at the bit for the next chapter. And then when they finish listening to your audiobook, they'll be like, "Wow, man, that was great. I want to listen to that book again." Just something that is just so important for you to narrate your own audiobook, and I'm a big advocate of that, obviously. So again, you do have the voice to do it. You do have the talent to do it. You have to believe in yourself. You have to have confidence. You have to love your voice. You have to embrace your voice and appreciate this great voice that you have. Maybe you have a slight accent. I've worked with somebody who is from Texas and somebody who was in Georgia, and they have that little southern drawl. But what was really great about their audiobook is that their little accent really was so much of a character that they brought in to their narration. It was enjoyable to listen to. It really was. And I wouldn't worry about that if you have an accent, or if you think that that would be an issue. Don't let that be a barrier, because it's so easy to create barriers. It's so easy to not do something than putting yourself in an uncomfortable state. Being uncomfortable is not a bad thing, especially when it comes to something like this. I understand about nerves. I know people maybe freak out about speaking in public or talking into a microphone, and I get it. When I grew up as a kid, I was very shy and introverted, and it takes a while to build confidence in yourself and to believe in yourself and to believe in your voice and appreciate this great voice that you do have. So when it comes to narrating your own audiobook, confidence and belief. You want to believe in yourself and believe in your voice, because you can do it. You can do it. Don't tell yourself you can't. I can't is a bad phrase. I can is an awesome phrase, right? I can. That's a good thing. And that's why I have my author clients do affirmations. I have them write out affirmations and talk about things that they can do. I am a great voiceover artist. I am a great narrator. I have a great voice. All these things that are positive that you want to tell yourself. And you say these affirmations over and over and over, because it builds confidence and it builds belief. And you're putting it in your subconscious mind that you are great at what you do and that you have a great voice. Obviously, you're great at what you do. You wrote this book and you've published this awesome nonfiction book. So you are great at what you do. You are an author. This is your brand. This is what you do. Your book is your product, whether it's an ebook or paperback or hardcover. Now take it to the next level by doing an audiobook that's in your voice, because now you've just added one more piece of the puzzle, right? You got one more format that's part of your arsenal that you're putting out there in the world for people to have a choice. So, people ask for audiobooks first before they even get physical or digital copies. And then there are other people who actually like physical and digital copies, but they'll also buy the audiobook because they want to listen to the book and read along with it. So there's a lot of benefits, of course, to doing an audiobook. But the key factor here is you do need to narrate your own book, because it is your voice. Only you can tell your story the way you want to tell it. Only you can interpret it the way you want it to be interpreted. Because again, you're preserving your author brand. The voice in your written word needs to be the same voice that is in your audiobook. You have to preserve your author brand. You're a professional, all right? So the buck stops here, right? The catchphrase, you are the CEO of you. So when you're making decisions about you as an author and your book and your brand and your marketing and everything that has to do with your business, you should make the decision to narrate your own audiobook because you can do it and you will do a great job. That I guarantee. And as your coach, I will make sure that you do a great job because that's my job to make sure that you do a great job and that you sound fantastic. That's the main thing. Again, what makes an average audiobook compared to an awesome audiobook, what makes the awesome audiobook better? The intangibles. And the intangibles are the things that maybe you can't physically touch, but you can feel, right? And we're talking about, of course, the emotions and your purpose and the reason behind why you wrote the book in the first place. When you do your audiobook, when you're going to do your audiobook narration, you have to tap into that energy. You have to tap into those feelings when you wrote your book because that comes through in your audiobook narration. All those intangibles come through, and that's what makes a great audiobook. You will keep your listener engaged from opening credits to closing credits, 100%. And there is that consistency too. And the beauty about you narrating your own audiobook is that you maintain control of your book and of your product. You maintain control of it. And that's another great thing about being a self-published author. Again, you do relinquish control with traditional publishing. They may say, okay, yeah, we're going to turn your book into an audiobook, but we're going to have, this company do it. That's that, right? You don't have a choice in the matter. It's not your decision. You've relinquished control. That's why doing your own audiobook is great. And having a self-published book, and doing it that way is great because you maintain control. So again, I'm a big advocate of having you narrate your own audiobook. You can do it. You just have to believe in yourself, have confidence in yourself, love your voice, and know that you have what it takes to tell your story, to speak it in your words, in your voice, the way you want the world to hear it. All right. All right, my friends, we have to take another quick break. I'm going to come back and talk about the Your Book, Your Voice audiobook coaching program a little bit more in detail when we come back. But in the meantime, warm up those vocal cords, right? You will be narrating your own audiobook because I know you can do it. And when we come back, I will tell you about the program and how you can do that. You're listening to Your Book, Your Voice. Glad you're here. I'm Robert A. Lane. We're streaming live on the Bold Brave TV network. We'll be right back.
What if there were a super tiny device that could diagnose the brain and is smaller than a single human hair? What if you could see inside the brain to help an epilepsy patient during surgery or to help the fight against Parkinson's disease? Dr. Patricia Broderick is proud to announce the Broderick Probe, a biomedical and electronic breakthrough. Imagine a probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense radio show with host Dr. Broderick, Wednesdays 7 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave Media Network and TuneIn Radio. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to EasySense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders. That's EasySense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them. We discover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies. Find settings that allow them to be the most productive and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio.
And welcome back, my friends. You are tuned into the Your Book, Your Voice podcast, streaming live here on the Bold Brave TV network. I'm your host, Robert A. Lane with Robert Lane Coaching. Thank you for tuning in. I do want to talk a little bit more in depth about the audiobook coaching program that I teach for nonfiction authors, showing them how they can narrate their own audiobook. And you can too. If you're a published nonfiction author, you can narrate your own audiobook and have it published on Audible, Amazon, and Apple Books by the end of the 6-week program. It is possible. There are other companies out there who say, oh, we'll get your audiobook done, 3 months, 6 months. Sometimes it's longer. No, you can get it done in 6 weeks, and through the program, it is easier than you think. Now, there are a lot of moving parts, of course, to creating an audiobook, which is why I created the audiobook coaching program to help you through those steps and be there as your coach, as your accountability partner to keep you on track, as your safety net in case you're having any struggles. That's what I'm there for. So let me tell you a little bit about the Your Book, Your Voice audiobook coaching program. As I mentioned, it is a 6-week program, and we take you from setup and preparation to narration to publication on Audible, Amazon, and Apple Books. That's the AAA, all right? The AAA. Those 3 distribution platforms you really do need to be on. There are other distribution platforms, of course, that you can have your audiobook distributed. And that is something that we do talk about when we have our first audiobook consultation call, which that's the action step that you would need to take to start the process of getting into the Your Book, Your Voice audiobook coaching program. We'll leave the graphic up there for a little bit as I talk to you about the program. So as I mentioned, we do take you through preparation, narration, publication. So in the preparation phase of the program, I provide you with the professional equipment. I send you a microphone, headphones, a sound isolation screen with a pop filter for the microphone. That is yours. That's part of the program. When you enroll in the program, I send the equipment out to you because you're going to set up your own recording space. And I teach you how to do it. And it's very methodical. It's very step-by-step. So it's not overly confusing or overly complicated. So you will receive the equipment and it is yours to keep. You don't send it back to me. It's yours. That's part of the program. You can start your own podcast if you want, or you can use it for anything else that you want to use it for. But that is your equipment to keep. So we help you with that setup. The next phase of the program is, of course, doing the narration. And we talk about the things that I've mentioned, about the intangibles, how to be confident, how to build confidence, how to love your voice, how to break down any barriers that are stopping you from doing a great narration, how to be conversational, how not to be reedy, how to do a great delivery for your narration, how to have somebody specific in mind when you do your audiobook narration. Which is a big factor. So bringing in the intangibles is crucial because, again, that's what takes a mediocre or average audiobook to being something that's fantastic, taking it to that super high level when you have those intangibles. And then we also talk about the practical aspects, the physical aspects, things that you can do to do a more efficient and cleaner and better sounding narration. Physically, things that you can do. We talk about mic placement and how to do other practical things that you would need to do a great audiobook narration. Now, part of the program is, as I mentioned earlier in the show, that I've got 20 plus years of audio editing experience. You send your audiobook files to me. I do all the heavy lifting behind the scenes. I do the editing for you, make sure it is clean, that it sounds great. Now remember, when I do the editing, I'm not changing your style, okay? The way you deliver is all about you, okay? And I preserve that. What I do as an editor is go in and just clean things up, make sure it sounds good. But most importantly, make sure that your audio files meet to the exact specifications for publication into Audible, Amazon, and Apple Books. The other part of the program, which is again behind the scenes, which is something that you don't have to worry about, is I do the uploading of all your audio files for you. I upload them to Audible, Amazon, and Apple Books. I make sure that there are no issues. If there are any issues, if a file, is flagged for anything, sometimes it's like you're 1 decibel too low or too high. Well, okay, no problem. I know about it. I know what needs to be done to fix your file. It's fixed, it's done, it's re-uploaded, and you're good to go. And these are all things that you don't have to worry about. Your main focus is just doing a great audiobook narration. That's what I want you to do. You send the files to me, I clean them up, get them to spec, upload them for you, and that's it. When the files are all done, I send those mastered files back to you so you archive them because they are yours. And again, I do not take any royalties, or there's no cut from any of your audiobook sales. There are some narrators and some companies that do that, but I don't. The only thing that you're paying for is for the audiobook coaching program and for all the audio editing. So the goal of the Your Book, Your Voice audiobook coaching program is to take away the hassle, the confusion, the overwhelm, all of that. I want to just take that away, just have you focus on doing a great audiobook narration. Make this really, really simple. You don't have to find a studio. You don't have to find an editor. You don't have to do any of that because you're setting up your audio recording studio in your own home, in your own space that you're comfortable with, that you are under your schedule, not somebody else's. Now in the program, of course, I do ask to tell me or ask you, when are you doing your audiobook? What days and times are you doing your audiobook at? And I hold you accountable to that because you need to reserve time to spend on your audiobook, and that time needs to be a non-negotiable. Okay, so if there's other things that happen that come up, it's like, nope, can't do it. This is my time. This is when I'm working on my audiobook, and I'm going to hold you to that as your accountability partner as well. So you have that. You have your own recording space, and you can record it, at the times that you feel the most comfortable. And that's really a great thing. And you will get it done within the 6-week program. Now, you may know this already, but just to let you know that for the audiobook process, everything is recorded in sections. Okay, let's say if you have 20 chapters in your book, that's 20 audio files that you're recording. You have opening credits, closing credits, introduction, dedication, acknowledgments, a foreword. There's a lot of things that are all the pieces that you record. But again, you're taking it a section at a time. You send those to me, I edit them for you, upload them for you, and you're done. Okay, so the action step that you need to take is this. As you see the graphic up there, schedule a call with me. That's my calendar link. Book a call with me. Let's talk about your book. Let's find out what your marketing strategies are, and I will enroll you in the Your Book, Your Voice audiobook coaching program. It's that simple. You will talk to me directly, and we'll get you enrolled. You got to do it. You got to have that audiobook as part of your arsenal. It is so important, and you can narrate your own book. You can go to robertlanecoaching.com. That has more information about the program, and you can also schedule your call through the website as well. All right. So with that, I want to just thank you so much for tuning in to Your Book, Your Voice. I really appreciate you hanging out with me. We're here every Thursday at this same time, and I do have an assignment for you, and I do this with every podcast that I do, and that is this. Go out there when you're out and about. Smile at a stranger, say hello to them, give them a compliment. It takes 5 or 10 seconds out of your time. But that small gesture of kindness and positivity can really make somebody's day because maybe they're just having a really bad day. And you smiling and saying hello to them can just be the greatest thing that has happened to them on that day. So with that thought, go out there, be good humans. You are listening to Your Book, Your Voice. I appreciate you being here. I'm Robert A. Lane. We are streaming live on the Bold Brave TV network. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next time.
has been Your Book, Your Voice with host Robert A. Lane. Tune in each week for another powerful and informative episode of Your Book, Your Voice, Thursdays, 8 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave TV network.